Welcome everyone to Business Club, and my special guest today is Joe Girard. Well, have you ever heard of the world's greatest salesman, Joe Girard, who's in the Guinness Book of World Records for selling cars? Pretty cool, right? Well, that ain't him. He is a regular dude who got started in sales many years ago and built a 14-year career as a top performer in private education selling courses. Became a manager, a corporate trainer, and then decided to start a business. What was he thinking? He found out that he shared ideas through blogs, videos, podcasts, online courses. There are unlimited people out there with challenges he could help them with. And that's what got him pumped. Now he gets to travel the world, work with all size companies, dive into tons of crazy projects, and essentially help rid the world of salesy weirdos. His biggest realization is that there's always a better way, a simpler way, a more fun way to do things. And the best part has to be the amazing people that he gets to do work with. So welcome, Joe. It's so great to have you on the show Business Club. I initially first heard about you through our friend Jeremy DeMerchant, as you were featured on his show, Permission to Sell. And I saw you talked about spin selling, which I absolutely loved, getting into complex sales. So anyway, without further ado, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, thanks for having me. I mean, you've somehow, the complex sale on your end has worked really well because you've convinced me to do this at 7 a.m. I'm over here in Victoria.
You're in Victoria. You're doing this
I'm in
from
Victoria, man. So let everybody know you guys owe me. So it's 7 a.m. here. I've got my trusty sidekick coffee and. Yeah, man, we're going to talk about some complex sales stuff and dive in and whatever you want. I mean, I don't know, whatever you want from me. You got me weakened in the morning here. So whatever you guys need from me in this, I really want to kind of go through some spin selling stuff, some complex sales stuff, and especially how people are applying this in today's situation, right? I think I mentioned to you, a lot of people are suffering from Zoom fatigue. So don't make me just sit here and rattle off a bunch of stuff. Let's try and make this interactive. Let's have some fun. Let's get people asking questions, and let's kind of think about, there's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of tactics. There's a lot of there's strategies out there. What really matters right now is I think like nobody gives a shit about what you're selling. They all are worried about their own stuff. So we want to come at this through the lens of what's happening on the other end on the customer side. Like what's really going on in their head, what challenges they have, how are we helping them move to a new reality without going in, like we said, don't be a salesy weirdo. That's why I got this sign. How do I point right there? Boom. It's that saying came up a bunch of years ago because, I do sales coaching, consulting. I've got, large teams that I've worked with and, we'd go through, say, role plays. We'd do a whole bunch of stuff where everybody sounded really good. And then all of a sudden listen to a couple sales calls. And I'm like, dude, you just got weird. Like, why did you change? Why are you somebody else? Oh, I think you froze there. What happened? You're just staring at me now. Am I still?
Oh, sorry. I was just admitting one of our guests there. He's having trouble getting on, logging in.
That's cool, man. You freaked me out. You're just staring. One of the games that we've been playing on Zoom, if somebody freezes, everybody else in the group has to do an impression of that person and then take a screenshot. So you get these like.
You could do it as a drinking game. You have to do like a shot of tequila every
buddy,
time.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's right. I was just admitting my friend, he's having trouble logging in. But anyway, that's good. He can always watch it later. So it's all good.
Cool, man. So I was just saying, the salesy weirdo thing is just something that came up, and that's something that's stuck. And that's kind of in line with what we're saying is, really think about what your customer wants. I have a thing called the Sales Hero Academy. It does okay, but the moment I started saying don't be a salesy weirdo, that thing took off. And that's kind of where we think about networking, this especially as a networking group. The litmus test is if you think the thing that you're saying is really cool and you say it, nobody cares, don't keep saying it, right? Find a cooler way and a more interesting way to say what it is you do. I think just having a saying like that has helped me really grow and get on more podcasts and interviews just because people are like, that sounds interesting and that sounds normal, right?
I've even adopted that term salesy weirdo in my conversations as well. I think that's because we all know that those ML, multi-level marketing or network marketing guys that are really pushing the sales and just kind of amateurs, like they're just starting in sales when the really art is building the relationship right before you.
Well, that's totally it, man. And it's, you know, and it's funny because now that I've been doing this for a long time, I'm just old now, just saying stuff, and people come up to me out of the blue and be like, "Dude, I've met the salesy weirdo. I have no idea who these people are," but they come up and they use my own language against me. But the salesy weirdo is really, you know, people either like you said is the overly formal or overly pushy sales. They put on this like this armor, this sort of this caricature of what they think selling is because they've seen a couple movies or they've just, you know, watched what like they see online. They try and emulate it. Or the other one is where, you know, I was working with a client yesterday, and when you get weird when it comes to selling, you're really good at all of like, this is who I am and this is what I do, and I'm going to stand and I'm going to be a badass bitch and I'm going to be a strong dude, all this kind of stuff. And then you get to the close and you're like, so would you like maybe like to do, if you don't want to, that's okay. And we get really weird and really weak when we come to call it a weak ask. So that's kind of, those are the two sort of ends of it, is we become somebody that we're not, or we just are really shy about doing something, and we get weird, so people get weird. Yeah. So when we talk about the complex sale, I have a whole like sales conversation roadmap that I put in, and at the end when we start to look for commitment, that's what I try and get people to focus on, is whether we do it with a question mark or we do it with an exclamation mark. Are we really like saying, this is exciting, let's move forward, let's get going, let's do this, or are we going, I'm not sure, because all your good work can get stripped away by you being weak when you're asking for the commitment.
Yeah, and especially in this environment too. And we did an e-conference where we talked a bit about, you know, the current situation. And even, you know, Jeremy was mentioning too, it's like, it's almost like it's such a sensitive environment. You really have to be showing a lot of empathy, listening to your prospect, your client, but even focusing more on the relationships, because, you know, everyone's sort of in shock mode, everyone's hunkering down. And it's almost, you have to kind of, evolve your sales process to adapt to your prospective client.
Yeah. What's up, Drew? Where's your video, man? I want to see you. You make me feel nervous.
Drew, did you manage to log
in? There
in?
he is. What's up, man?
Oh, good.
Perfect.
How are you guys?
Good.
Thanks for joining in, Drew. Glad you got to your system working there.
Oh, my computer's crap here. I don't know why.
Drew,
the old Toshiba that you saw at Collab Space when we were there.
Well, Drew, what's your business? What are you involved in?
Computer services.
Nice, man. Very cool.
Drew's actually helping me with a website to actually get finalized too. So he's and he comes actually. He's been helping me even at my house. Like he set up my cable for me for my TV too. So it's he's the
you have people
cable
come to your
guy.
house? I'm reporting you.
Yeah.
that was pre-COVID.
Okay. Make sure you had TV during this troubling time. But you know, it's you know, the words that we're hearing right now is like, you know, everybody's talking about pivot and all this kind of stuff, and you know, like we just said, Zoom fatigue, and there's the new normal. I'm on a lot of shows right now, a lot of conversations where everybody's talking about, well, how do I move everything online? You know, the thing is that there's a lot of stuff people should have been doing before all this went down that they didn't do, that now they need to put in place moving forward. It's going to be a different world. It's going to be a mix of online and face-to-face. I've been doing the no pants dance off for a long time, sitting behind Zoom and talking to my clients, and, you know, doing this and using tools and technology to support my business. And, you know, perfect example, I think 6 years ago, I had a client here locally. They're only about 5 minutes away. And they asked me if I'd come and do a thing on spin selling for their guys at the office. And I said, well, wait, you're like in my own neighborhood. I'm like, but if I have to come see you, I'm going to have to charge you what's called a pants premium, because I got to put on pants and come to your office. So I charged them an extra 10%. They paid it. So like I was doing this long before you had to. But that's kind of like the whole idea is, you know, I have business partners that we work on projects, and we do Zoom calls all the time. If we need to solve a problem, we'll jump on Zoom. It's very rare that we're like, hey, let's all get together and talk about stuff, because the tools allow us to do it. So recently, you know, I've been moving a lot of like, I do a lot of consulting and coaching, but now I'm doing a lot of like, because I'm a big software nerd, I love all the tools and technology that go behind stuff, you know, like using email lists, using calendar tools, using marketing and web webinars. And so I've been helping a lot of people just get stuff set up online so they can, they can really continue what they're doing and supplement. So I'm speaking at the National Conference for Event Planners. I mean, they've been hit hard with all this stuff because they run events. And so, everybody's saying you got to get everything online. And it feels weird for them because their business isn't an online business. So to completely change and pivot an event business online is going to put a bunch of people out of business.
Yeah, we have actually a local business owner too who runs it's like probably the biggest event business in Ottawa here, and he had like $1 million payroll and completely he had to lay off his entire staff. So yeah, I can totally relate to that. Exactly what you're talking about. And I was also reading too recently about a lot of business, even big corporations now, it's created a new normal because they have to communicate via Zoom or WebEx or web conferencing, and now it's like so convenient that it's like, why would they go back to having to fly their staff all around the world when this is such an ideal situation to meet. Anyway, so Joe, I know you put that one of your videos that did really well was your video on spin selling. So and that's what I thought was brilliant. I was wondering if you could tell us what spin selling is all about.
Yeah, baby. Do I have? I got it right here. Spin selling. I got spin selling field book. So years ago, what happened was when I was getting going on my business, I decided to do a 90-day blogging strategy. And one of the things I did one day was I'm going to just do a book review, a crappy little 5-minute video on spin selling. And spin selling is a book that was done in the 80s. They did something like 88,000 sales calls, thousands of reps, hundreds of sales managers, and they interviewed them all to figure out how to be able to sell in the complex world. So I recorded this video. I think I'm up to almost 200,000 views on it. And my video I'm the #1 video on spin selling, and I outranked the guy that wrote the book. So, so crushing it. So I actually, I gotta do some more stuff. That thing it does really well on my channel, but I got a spin selling volume 2, how to use spin selling in today's world, because the thing with spin selling, it was developed in the consultative sales era where, people wanted to go, a 3-martini lunch and have salespeople sit down and wine and dine them and ask them a ton of questions. In today's world, that's not what your customers are looking for. And so books I've got Challenger Sale, Insight Selling. There's a whole bunch of other ones. Challenger Customer is a newer one. These are kind of the new wave of what we're looking at. And all the change is leading with insights, leading with challenging people and what they're thinking and showing them something. So we just create what's called an aha, right? So we're getting them to sort of go and this is what I listen for on all the sales calls. Just listen, it goes like this. If you get that on a sales call, you're in business, dude, because now you've cognitively reframed something that's going on in their world. And if you do it properly, you have the right conversation, then they should be saying, is that something maybe I could do? Or I was thinking about this, and how does that work? So we're trying to get them to shift the way that they're thinking about their business. If we get them to think differently about themselves, they'll think differently about us. So the spin selling methodology, I'm gonna go through with you guys. The only change that you need to make to it is, rather than waiting till you're talking to somebody to use it, do it beforehand, right? Do it as part of your pre-call planning. There's so much room to be able to look at their LinkedIn profiles, their Facebook, their business. You have every piece of information you need to fill in the blanks. So I always have, I don't even know if I have this anywhere, but I have 5 power questions that I ask. Is I say, what do I know about somebody? Right? So I look and say, what can I know? What can I figure out about them? That second one is I say, what do I want to know? So what's that gap? What's the thing that I'm like, this is a burning question I have. Then I want to say, what do I want them to know, think, or feel about me and how I'm doing? So how do I connect what I'm doing to what they're doing? How do I establish personal brand? Then I want them to say, what might they say? So when I think about the type of business they have and what they do, if I have a conversation with them, I'm trying to think what might go on in their head that they're going to bring up. It might be an objection. It might be an assumption that I have to invalidate in a conversation. The last thing is, what do I want them to do? right? Those are the 5 power questions. I'll find them somewhere. I have them in a document. But that's what I always look at as my pre-call planning before I talk to somebody. And the faster you do pre-call planning, the easier this becomes. So, and the more you do it, the faster you get. So I've had, if you start with pre-call planning, it might take you an hour to kind of review somebody. But once you start to understand your key segments of who you're working with, the commonalities that they have, like you might see like a McDonald's has the same issues as a mining company because it's all about throughput. It's all about systems, right? And so if we're, and supply chain. So if we're looking at that, then you go, okay, well, what is the commonality that the manager at McDonald's has with the manager at the mine? Okay, I bet they're dealing with this. I bet they're dealing with this. I bet their issue is throughput, their external constraints. We're trying to map all this stuff up with them. So we go, okay, well, how do then I build a spin selling framework in my head that means that when I have my conversation with them, even if I get 30 seconds, can I use this methodology to create the best insight possible around their business so they want to talk to me more, right? The thing, does this all make sense, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I from I watched your video, and it's the spin is actually for each letter represents. So the first one is situation, and you just
don't steal my thunder, baby. Don't steal my thunder.
Situation. What is your sales process? Then the P is a problem. What problems are is this cause? The implication, I for implication, implied need discovered, and then the need payoff. So tell me what happened if we increased your sales, improved you to be a better salesperson. So it actually has so there you go. So it's
I got you.
Perfect.
I got you.
Hey, excellent.
And I'll send this out to you guys. I put a bunch of stuff I'm going to send you 2 things. One is I've got this Asking the Best Questions guide that we put together a while back. This one does really well. How to use questions, how it all works, how to ask questions on different levels. But let's go into this, the situation. So basically, when we're thinking about this now, like I said, is you want to spin sell these guys before you talk to them. When we think about these levels, situation, these are all of the basic questions. What is it? Like tell me about your business. How many staff do you have? How many leads do you get? What are your conversions? How does this work? How does this work? How does this work? So you're just trying to get a sense of how that all works. If you go in and just ask people all these questions, they're going to be upset because you didn't do your homework, right? The problem questions are like, okay, if they have, what's the problem that this guy has? Is it they need more lead flow? Is it that their finances, they're not sure what answers they're looking for? Is it that, they are worried about COVID-19? What are all the problems that they might have that are associated with these situations? Now, typically what we see, the reason that spin selling was invented is that people were just asking these questions. And in a one-call close or like a low-ticket type of a sale, these can work really well. And I equate them to being along the lines of when my wife comes in and says, I had a bad day. I say, oh, well, what happened? Okay, well, here's how we fix it. That doesn't go very well, right? Because I just said, what's the situation? Why is that a problem? All right, here's how you fix it. And now we're divorced. That's what ends up happening. Because that's a complex sale. Anybody that's listening, that your relationship with your wife and your husband, complex sale. So those are the reason it's a complex sale is because the decisions are typically happening in the intervals between you engaging with them. So if I tell my wife how to solve a problem, guaranteed she's thinking about that when we're not talking about it. So that's a complex sale, right? So what we want to do is, and so if you're just selling widgets, if you're selling maybe even a computer, right? This is where you don't care if the person selling it to you is important to you or not. You don't need to worry about if you know, like, or trust them. They're going to say, okay, here's the information, here's the problem, this is how we solve it, great. But for most of us, the complex sale requires us to go a bit deeper on implication and need payoff. An implication is basically just cause and effect. An implication question is, this is the one thing you want to get really good at, is understanding if this is happening, I bet this is also happening. So rather than just asking them a bunch of questions, really think about their business in a way. So implication is just basically saying, well, what are the bottlenecks? What are the things that are holding them back in their business? So this stands for batch as well. I remember learning this years ago, BATCH. So what are the bottlenecks? What are the things that are stopping them from doing what they need? Who else is affected because of this, right? So it usually in, like I know in the Challenger customer book, the number that they give in a complex sale, in a sort of a high ticket sale, there's 5.4 people involved in a complex sale. So your job is not necessarily to sell each one of them how this works. Typically, you're trying to figure out, can we get a consensus as to what the problem is? So we want to know who else is affected. If I'm selling sales services, Joe sells sales services by the seashore here in Victoria. So when I'm selling these services, I might be talking to the director of sales. I might be talking to the sales manager, sales rep. I might be talking to the VP, the owner, the director of marketing often will jump on a call with me. The director of like the chief information officer, I'll be talking to, because if we're talking about maybe some tech, they want to know how does that work. And then the operations guy, the finance guy comes on and goes, why the hell would we spend with this guy? So I want to know who else either on this call directly or who else might be in the buying committee on the back end of this that would be affected. So how do I make sure that the language, the conversation I have, I'm aware of who else is affected, and I'm helping them be able to position this effectively to those other people. So that's a big question, especially the higher ticket you go, the more that this becomes. And if you're doing finance services, you know that the spouse factor can kick you in the ass really quickly, right? And sure. And if you're doing, tech services, you know that there might be other partners. You might have different levels. I'm sure, Drew, you've seen people with different levels of skills that you've dealt with, right? So you want to know who's involved in this. Like I had to help somebody figure out how to do right click versus left click on their mouse yesterday. I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. You need to Google how to use your computer before you get on a call with me. So I was affected because of that, and I started drinking whiskey too early. So this is... So when we're thinking about this, then the other one is, how much time does this take? These are the time and the affected other ones are, if you're going to pick any two questions, those are the two that we really want to think about. Because a lot of people, like I have my sister's company, I got them set up with some new CRM, some email marketing, and I love the way she emailed me back, said, we want to work with you because we've got a great team, we've got people, we've got resources, but what we don't have is a whole bunch of time and money to spend on trying to figure it out ourselves. So the time and the ability for you to help them, especially I know for both of you guys, if like everything is Googleable, right? It doesn't mean we should. So that means if we say, okay, well, if you're going to do that, who's going to be involved? How much time would that take? How much would that cost you to actually do that? And what kind of a pain in the ass would that be to do that? Right? And it's the same thing I know in like Challenger Sale, we talk about like people, if you're going to be someone that at a big company that you're buying supplies, your supplies for the warehouse, and you're going to buy hammers. If you have somebody that's going and sourcing a hammer, they might be able to find a hammer from $25 to like $7. If they spend all day trying to find that hammer, it's not really a good use of their time. So your job is not to help them find a $7 hammer. It's trying to help them avoid spending $207 finding a hammer, right? So that's where we start looking at, okay, well, what do they currently do in their business? What are the things that are happening in their business? And when we ask the right questions, then what happens is if you're just saying, I have this offer and this is how much it costs, and if your problem is this, then it costs like this, they're gonna go, well, that cost is too much. But if you ask questions and you start to pile this stuff on, well, who else and what else? And they start to go, oh my God, I wasn't thinking about that. That's when you get the, yeah, that is a bigger issue than I was thinking about, right? And Drew, for your services, probably you're going to go in and they say, well, I think, my brother's uncle's dog's donkey's friend can probably do this for me, or like web design, anything where they're like, yeah, no, I got a guy. It's like, I bet you don't, because now you got to go figure this out and you don't have time to make those mistakes. Why not do it right once? I'm right now going to be using Kajabi for launching a new membership site that we're building. I've done all my research, and then at the end, I'm like, $2,000 for this software. But then I'm like, wait, how much time and energy have I spent for 6 years not doing it right? And I'm like, my God, I'm like, this is a steal. So that's kind of where we want to think about, not so much what does it cost to buy from us, but what does it cost you if you don't? So that's where we started getting into the deeper questions. What if you do? What if you don't? Right? And then the need payoff question. So we've asked all these questions that say, tell me about what's going on. Tell me about these problems. What else is happening because of those? Now we've brought them to the depths of despair. We want to say, okay, well, now what's possible? if you were to move forward on this, what does a new reality look like? You know, you could say, if I wave a magic wand, what does this time next year look like? Shit like that. But you could just say, you know, if you put these new systems in place, if you were able to put this money into this right place, if you were able to have a team that was doing these types of things, what does this time next year look like? What happens in 6 months? How are you going to make sure this thing moves forward? And you get them to tell you what the need payoff is. Right? And if we do it this way, I mean, this is such a simple methodology, but if you apply this in the background thinking of how you look at every customer, you start to see their business in a different lens. And it's almost like, you know, the reticular activating system that gets us, you know, like it allows us to start thinking people further when we go into a meeting. We're already pumped about how to help them and how to have this conversation. Then our job is just to shut the F up when we're having that conversation because we already know all of this stuff. But if you wait to go in, you're going to try and figure this on the fly, and you might not get to the juicy stuff by the end. So far, so good?
Yeah, that's great, Joe. And obviously, we're in a different environment right now. I mean, this like is great for, you know, companies that have our essential service haven't been affected by this current pandemic. What about applying this? Do you think anything's changed with obviously the current economic situation in terms of applying spin selling? Would you say that do you do anything differently in your sales calls? I know that a lot of companies are offering their lowering their prices on their, you know, their programs and software.
I think, yeah, dude. I think right now, if you are lowering your prices, you're playing a dangerous game. You know, I have like this conference that I'm speaking at. I was supposed to be a keynote for them like about a week after all this stuff went down. And then basically, you know, when like what, 6-7 weeks ago, everybody disappeared off the face of the earth. Everybody stopped there. Like, we can't do it. Never, you know, we got to pause. I don't know when it's going to happen. We'll get back to you. And only the last like maybe week and a half, everybody's coming out of the woodworks. But now, because all of these companies have said, you know, we're with you and we care, and now is an important time to be with your family, all this like, and then all this sad piano music playing in the background of all these ads from all the big companies. So now everybody's thinking that, you know, we got to discount, we got to do the stuff that makes me die inside.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not really saying discount, but like a promotion almost, like it's like, yeah, okay, like their sales coaches giving away their, you know, it's a $5,000 program. It's now just $40 or something. Like, it's just like well, what happens is the reason that that's a dangerous game is that you're setting a weird precedent to say, well, how much was this worth before all this happened? It feels like a good promotion, but now how are you going to charge more moving forward? They go, if that was a $40 thing now, why would I pay the $5,000 later, right? So if you're be very careful with that. If you're going to do a promotion, have a very unique sort of spin on it, right? Have a very unique way of saying, here's what we're doing to address this. For example, I'm working with a company here. It's called Pacific FC. It's a soccer club, and they've been hit hard with all of this, because I mean, they're a very public, I need a bunch of people in a room type business. Come and watch soccer. So they're saying, oh man, we sold a bunch of season tickets, and they're worried that, you know, one, they're going to lose season ticket holders. They're going to want refunds. And two, their partners and their sponsors are going to want to pull their advertising because there's nobody looking at their ads. So they came to me and asked, well, do we have all of our players go on TikTok and do stupid dances? What do we do to kind of keep people engaged? Do we go and build a membership site and all this stuff? And it's like, you know, that's not what their customers are looking for. But what we did say is right now, if you go and start thinking creatively about these implications for your customers, this stuff becomes a kind of a second nature skill set. So we're going to go and approach their partners and say, hey, look, we got something like 1,200 season ticket holders from all these different ranges. What kind of deals can you provide them either right now or in the future when the smoke clears? Because we have appliance stores, lighting stores, we have local restaurants, all these different places that have sunk some advertising dollars in with these guys. If we now partner with them and say, hey, let's get some really cool promotions to our season ticket holders, we go back to the season ticket holders and say, hey guys, good news, I want you to spend more money with us,
Rather than discounting, I'm going to give you an offer so that because we value as loyal fans, we want to pre-sell the season tickets for next year. And if you buy these season tickets, we might not even do it at a discount. If you buy your next year season tickets as well at full price, our vendors are offering everybody who does that this kind of a deal on the stuff when everybody comes out. So now they're not losing money. The vendors aren't losing money. They're actually making money during this time because there's a bunch of people out there that are the same people that are looking for ways to invest their money right now because they're looking at what's happening in the markets. So if I see as a season ticket holder that there's an opportunity for me to do the same thing I was going to do anyways, and I can get a deal at the end of that because of these partnerships that people are making, I might jump on that. So I might take my $1,000 and double down and go 2,000 because I get a deal on the next fridge that I buy. So there's ways that partners and clients and service providers can all work together to think creatively without discounting, right? I think now's the time we don't want to be discounting.
Yeah, and I think like just to give you an example, what sort of I was getting at is, for example, say like a high level sales coach, like one of those public speakers. Yeah. They're starting like it's kind of like, it's almost like a promotional thing where, okay, you can get access to all this material, but they still have their high ticket, like their coaching, do like a high level coaching, but it's just like it's almost like they're using this opportunity to build up their prospecting base. Because once they get them in, then they can market their high ticket items and that. That's sort of what I was getting at. But it's another interesting thing too is I don't know if you noticed with the card companies, they're actually marketing now to essential workers. So they're continuing on saying, thank you for your service, and it's been wonderful. We're with you, and then it's almost like we have a special deal for you as well, because they know that they're the only people that, or like as an essential service, they're the people that are still getting their full paychecks. And it's kind of interesting how like the car companies have pivoted their business to actually market to those who still have a paycheck coming in.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's sneaky at all. I think that's great. They've got a business, and their businesses rely on customers and need, right? And so if people have a need and they have money, then they'll buy your stuff, right? So right now, like I think, like I said, I see a lot of stuff that stopped 6 weeks ago, but now they're ramping up. People are wanting to spend, and they want to get back to work, and the economy has to go on. So all of this, that's why right now, if you add to your spin selling question sort of framework, is how have they been affected? And what else might they need to see? Who is affected on their team? For example, like me, a lot of the work I'm doing right now is helping people set up systems and tools and build more like marketing and sales and automation, because people are saying, hey, our teams have had to go smaller. So rather than doing, like high level, like coaching and sales, workshops, I'm helping smaller teams systemize what they should have been systemizing before so that they can do more with less. Right? So I'm actually charging more money now by helping people build the systems they should have had before, because they didn't have time to do it because they needed me to come do workshops on sales. So in each market, in each industry, there's going to be a bit of a new approach, a new way to look at this stuff. The easiest way to do all of this is to get on the phone with a handful of people that you exactly want to sell to and start asking some of these questions. Right? What's happening because of this? What, who's affected? How much time does it take you? Oh man, what kind of a pain in the ass is that? Well, what happens if you do this? What happens if you don't? And start to formulate perhaps a new offer, an adjusted offer, a price point. There's opportunities right now in the marketplace that comes from just thinking about people, not thinking about what you want to do. I think there's too many people creating stuff without vetting it into their audience. Don't create something without knowing that people want you to do that. I've seen people build stuff online right now. I'm like, your audience does not want that shit. Like, they're not sitting there going, oh man, I can't wait to sign up for another thing. They're not doing that. Some people are canceling Netflix, right? Like they're not looking to give you money to support your business. They're looking to solve their own stuff. So
that's a really good thing. That's a really important thing too. Like the what's in it for me factor, like seeing your product or service through your customer's eyes and really thinking deeply, is this something that people are going to spend their hard-earned money for? I recently saw a good example of, with another business coach, and the lady wanted to invent a service for firefighters, like a counseling service. And charge them for, and he was just saying, like, firefighters have a huge ego, and like if they're, you know, admitting they have a
That
problem,
sounds like a
you know, that's-
nightmare.
yeah, so it says, and he just basically set her straight right away. He said, like, this is not going to work. If you're going to do this, you have to do it for free, because then you become like the hero, right? You know, like you're providing this. But
Yeah.
but anyways, it was you know, that's one of the advantages of working with a business coach, is kind of setting you up on the right path. So Joe, one of the things I really like about you is that you really you have a lot of fun with what you do and your business.
Oh God!
And you do your whiskey, the whiskey events. And one thing I really loved recently is seeing these videos that you're doing on the Bro-llet. And I was wondering if you could share with us this video you did. And I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your wife was doing like an instructional video on, and then you did some little dancing in the background.
Buddy, I dance in the foreground. Don't get it twisted. Like, Drew, come on, baby, let's go. So yeah, so this is an example. So she's a ballerina, that's her. And so she's been teaching a long time. And so because of all this, you know, got hours cut for the school that she was at. And so we said, screw it, let's just build this. And in the last week, we've just been blowing this thing up. So we built this whole thing out. She's got all of her classes. We're rocking and rolling. And I got to look at that. So now, so because of that, I'm doing a lot of promo and stuff on the back end for her. And this is what you're asking about. So this is one of the videos. Let's go. Where is it? Oh, is my thing not working?
And I've seen a lot of videos.
It looks like it doesn't work. Too bad.
I saw a few videos with you wearing what do you call those thing around your waist? Yeah, there we go.
Oh, my tutu, man.
Yeah, your tutu.
So that's her in the background there. That's me dancing. You get it. You get it.
And it was a Disney song, right? That anyway, anyone can go on your website and they can watch that video.
Absolutely.
But it was pretty entertaining.
You bet. Now hold on. I gotta jump on this. Our signups aren't showing. So I gotta fix that. So going back to this, yeah, no, that's one of the things we just looked at, her business model. And so example is teaching ballet and teaching dance online. That doesn't mean that moving forward, because we just did all the business plan, we mapped all that stuff out. You know, the thing is that we're not saying this is going to replace traditional ballet training. That seems stupid. Now, you know, the same thing is I don't want to go and just all do online. I know people like face-to-face meetings. I know workshops, and I know events will happen, and I'm pretty sure pubs aren't just going to have online pub drinking. People want to get together. We're tribal by nature. But what we're doing with the online ballet training is to supplement what other people are doing, because just like you said, there's a new shift, there's a paradigm where we're saying, wait a minute, there's a lot of stuff we could probably do online. So we're trying to build that business model as in support of what all the other schools are doing. So some schools are going to, they're going to want to continue online stuff because their students want it. So we'll partner with them, right? We'll offer supplemental training for students that want to do more. There's lots of stuff we can do with our business that allows us to support the traditional industry. So anybody that's watching this, thinking about what they can do, don't think about having to pivot and completely reframe and change your business. There's a bit of a stopgap you can provide right now, but moving forward, think about what's going to happen over the next bunch of years that you can actually help people move through that. I was going to share with you, where is it? I don't know what's going on this computer here.
Well, and one thing too is just on that subject is obviously the need for education in putting together videos or ways to market your business, how to do a podcast. You know, I recently saw one lady doing an instructional program based in Australia and how to do a podcast. I mean, it's creating a whole new market because basically everyone has to shift their business online, but people need to understand how to do that. And also, you know, market their business through social media. You know, if you're not on social media, you need to get on, Facebook and LinkedIn and market your business or Amazon, whatever have you. So, it's new skills are needed. So there's a huge opportunity with getting involved in that training process.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I just talked to somebody yesterday, another financial planner. He was, the biggest message I'm telling people, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, right? Because if you don't do something properly, just being all over the place doesn't help you. So with with a lot of these guys, I'm saying, you know, let's think about how to move some things online. Let's think about how to get some presence right now. If you're going, like, I think free training and free education and supporting people with ideas and helping, you know, have a hook, like nobody's just looking for a bunch of stuff to do. There's a lot of bored people, but people are trying to solve some challenges. So if you come out with a hook, how are you seeing people to look at stuff uniquely? Use social media, be out there during these tough times so that when the smoke does clear, people remember what you were doing to help them solve stuff. And so that's kind of why this is what I've been building, is I know rather than, you know, selling a lot of coaching and consulting, I've been helping people with software. So I'm an affiliate for all of these companies, and these are the tools that we've been using to build the things that we have. So Book Like a Boss is what we've been using to build her page, Active Campaign. I'm getting people signing up like crazy, helping them build all their marketing email systems in the back end, and I get a percentage of that as we do that. So that's one way for me, when you're asking about pricing, I'm justifying reducing some fees up front. So rather than selling coaching and consulting, I'm saying, hey, if you sign up for these softwares through me, I'll help you get launched on it so that we can solve these problems, and I get a little piece of that. So I'm typically on 30% on a lot of the stuff I do. Financial planners, service professionals, helping them set up their tech, and I'm just getting long tail affiliates. Kajabi is what we're building, Kartra, all of these tools I'm an affiliate for. So like you say, like video editing, Camtasia, videos, I got a bunch of this stuff, helping people set up their podcasts. So all of these tools I'm doing programs for, you know, getting deals. And so this is something, each one of these is an affiliate link of stuff that I've tested. And a lot of these companies, like Better Proposals, I know the owners of these companies, and they're giving us exclusive deals on these. So right now is a good time, rather than being insulated with our offer, find other people that serve your market, figure out how to serve them together. Figure out how to maybe do a combined webinar, a collaborative project, a way that you guys can both get paid. So if I help people get set up on Better Proposals, I get a percentage, they get paid. The people I help set it up get a deal. They do a better job of software they were going to use anyways, and they don't pay any more because we just help them go the right direction. So everybody kind of wins on that, rather than just, nobody's looking to do a sales workshop right now, unless they want, everybody's asking me to do free shit. That's what I know, like this. but like all of these tools, that's what we've been building in our system. So, you know, that's what I would say. Find a way to be collaborative in your market, and think about, use these questions, the spin selling questions, to think about your customer in that way. What's going on in their world?